combating bonus and fraud abuse for enhanced profitability.
Fantastic. Wow, that was a mouthful, and that's a very big topic for you early in the morning. I know it's a sparse crowd, and that can only mean one good thing. Then people are having a lot of fun. You had a good networking night, and you partied hard. Thanks to all of you for coming in here for this little segment. I will dive straight into the topic, and I'll talk a little bit about from my experience working in the digital fraud prevention and the cybersecurity industry for the last 10, 15 years. We want to talk about some of the key challenges we see for real money games as well as skill-based games when it comes to managing profitability lost due to digital fraud. And as many of you know, fraud is nothing new to any of us. It's said that globally, the digital fraud industry itself, if it was an economy, it would be the third largest economy because the annual losses in digital frauds are now running into trillions. And to give you a context of, especially to friends who are traveling in from other parts of the world to Asia, many of the times the scam calls which are happening in Asia, the people who are making the calls are themselves the victims of human trafficking initiatives, human trafficking gangs operating in different countries. Many of these ads operating and in saying that there's a job at the border of Myanmar, Laos, Thailand to come in and work. They're taken into large captive areas, and these are really massive centers operating and doing cross-border fraud at this time. So the issues are real. The issues are accentuated because of human trafficking, proliferation of AI and open source tools, as well as the ease to create new fraud campaigns. So that just sets the context which is impacting all industries, and gaming is not left out either. So yeah, and that's a slide with a lot of text, but it's assumed that around 15% minimum is the actual top line loss to digital fraud for gaming platforms. And this is for real money, this is for skill-based games I'm talking about, not betting and gambling applications which are operating, and many of our friends here are from that industry. The skill-based game itself sees challenges of multi-accounting, promotion abuse, collusion between players, a lot of usage of bots and automated traffic, and also people trying to monetize the stream as gamers by having bot traffic following them and getting paid for the content, for the number of followers they have, which may not be real people actually viewing the stream at any point of time. So the challenge is, what it does on the gaming platform side is that it's making you lose your promotion dollars, you're losing the amount of money you're spending on creating new user base, and there's little visibility to it because a lot of our technical solutions at a stack level on DDoS, WAF, application security, they tend to get bypassed with a lot of the techniques that are used by fraudsters. Similarly, when it comes to betting and gambling, there are similar challenges. They get even more specific. There are open source tools, and if you go on Telegram and other dark web forums, ability to buy IDs, create new accounts, even buy reward coins and loyalty points, and abuse all of that in gaming platforms. The challenge is that we are not dealing with a single individual operating in isolation. Many times we are dealing with a collusion or a group of people trying to scam a platform together in a very sophisticated manner. So what can we do about it? And then some things that we believe both the regulators and gaming platforms are using increasingly more. Many of the guidelines are coming in from the banking, fintech, regulatory frameworks. But two key areas. One is to understand the hygiene of the device from which your users are coming from. Can I detect, is it a bot farm? Is it a device farm? Are all the devices at 90 degrees, standing like this, your iPhone, and they have 100% battery, and no one is actually touching the screen, but the scripts are running and the applications are going. Very telltale sign, very easy technique used by marketing people to acquire new users, but it has an impact when it comes to the gaming platform because you do not, or you may not want those kind of users, especially when you are not just chasing user growth. You are chasing profitability now. The cost of capital has gone much higher than what it was 2 years back. The other side of it is that how do I detect behavior biometrics? How do I see someone is interacting with my phone and device without infringing on the PII data? So on the right side, on your right side over there, you have a variety of different device level intelligence that is very helpful when it comes to fraud mitigation. At a very basic level, it is about jailbroken, rooted, bots, malware, and a variety of other signals on geolocation, because you want to create fencing around who are the kind of users you want, depending on the platform type and your regulatory framework, if you may be following any. On the other side is a lot of the behavior signals that you can combine together. At the bottom, what we have is 20 years of our work with the likes of law enforcement agencies, police, Interpol, on bad IDs, bad devices, bad reputation of users that we already know, and we feed that intelligence into the database. But honestly, this is not about us. This is about how, as an industry and as a group of people in the same area of work, can fight fraud together and improve profitability. If I just look at the idea of the crime and syndicates and collusion, an important aspect is to have the relationship between devices, look at multi-accounting if it is happening, number of users coming from same device ID, and having a high fidelity device attribution to a unique device that you may be coming. The reason I'm putting this up is because there are several initiatives we are part of when it comes to trust and safety, not only in the gaming industry, but also in the fintech, payment, and the banking industry, working right at a central bank level and going down to other regulatory bodies. This is important because a lot of the gaming platforms that we have here are serving users coming from a different geography where your platform may not be legitimately be allowed, but the user group still wants to access the platform, and you want to secure them. You want to also make sure that the right kind of users are coming in and accessing the platform. The other side to it, of course, is from a compliance standpoint when it comes to challenges of money laundering, AML, and money mule accounts. Gaming becomes a conduit at times, and that's why if you are running a reasonably regulated or a sustainable platform over a period of time, you may at least want to have the intelligence yourself to know that you are in the safe zone when it comes to any regulatory frameworks in future. Behavior analysis is another technique which has been adopted quite widely. Very simple when it comes to how a user is interacting. How can I create a unique device fingerprint of a user and how the user is interacting either on my app or onto my device. It allows us to collect multiple kinds of signals to create rules specific to a real money gaming or a skill-based game platform or even a payment platform. What it does is, again, allows you to be compliant, allows you to have better visibility at a user level and have better collaboration between your security, fraud, and the product teams, which is what we see as a larger conversion going on in industries. Why is the behavior analysis important? The behavior analysis is important because it allows us to have a sequence of events between how a real gamer would interact with the platform versus when I'm under a bot or under a collusion attack, and if I have a lot of other users coming in onto the platform at the same time. These signals are not, I wouldn't even put them in the bucket of AI. This is just data science. This is just analytics you can bring in. But you can use a lot of other tools on top which are available, even rules to create using LLM and other queries to be able to customize it to your platform. And this is where the data analytics and the telemetry with the new tools that we have becomes very relevant at this point, because we are not dying in a deluge of data. We are not collecting things we can't use. We are collecting signals that can be relevant and can be actually used now compared to maybe even 3 years ago, because we have the tools. And you're not hiring an army of analysts to just sift through the data. So I think that's a big shift which is happening across industries and use cases that we see. Geo-profiling quickly is another important one, and the reason I bring it up again is because many of the platforms may or may not be legally allowed to operate in certain other domiciles, as all of us know. If you look at APAC as well, there are very few countries that legally allow gambling and betting. And from the other side of the compliance and fraud mitigation world, which I spend a lot of time in as well, there is increased awareness in the regulators, increased awareness in other AML and money laundering related challenges to have crypto and gaming also being looked into when it comes to how money is moving out, how money turns from fiat to wallets, and what kind of role conduits and gaming platforms may have. So when it comes to geo-profiling, of course, you can hide behind a VPN. You may not know what country you're coming from. We try and deploy strong anti-detect browser tools so we can see the operations or the usage of anti-detect browsers. We also use strong longitude and latitude signals to understand how a group of users may be coming from. Many times they may be coming from actually victims who are being trafficked and are actually part of the fraud scheme of things themselves, operating into one particular geography. And that allows us to create sort of a relationship between, again, devices, number of users, and number of accounts being created. This is not just important from a profitability standpoint. I think that's very important. This is also important from a sustainability and also a compliance standpoint. And I think we need to be attuned to that as well, because a lot of the conversations very quickly will move in that direction. Also, when it comes to digital fraud, and like I said in the beginning, it's almost the third biggest economy globally, and to fight digital fraud, we need to collaborate across industries and across practitioners. So this, in your knowledge, may only be handy in the coming time. Now, when it comes to enhancing return on profitability, or when enhancing profitability and ROI on gaming platforms, some of these solutions need not necessarily be looked as cost centers or as just additional cost to your IT. The ROI is very quick. The ROI is very relevant. The payback is usually within 3 to 6 months or less than that. And you get a very good repository of good versus bad users. Users you really want to invest further and improve your total share of wallet of that user. And users you may want to actually ask them to go out or deplatform from your gaming platform at any point of time. That kind of analytics is very important from the perspective of your product team, even who you are actually reselling the gaming platform to, and understanding the actual metrics of how your gaming platform is driving profitability and revenue for users. So I really appreciate your time this morning. We have a couple of minutes if there are any questions from the audience. I'll be around the whole day as well to interact. And it's always great to work with new gaming platforms, esports, betting, real money games, because honestly, it's where a lot of new media is. A lot of people are meaningfully engaged on these platforms as well in a socially engaged manner, and also in a way in which they are dedicating many hours. And I think it's our duty to make these platforms fraud-free, responsible, and as well as have an element of trust and safety in our strategy when we look at gaming. We have a lot of experience working in cyber forensics, working with Interpol, working with law enforcement agencies on the other side. And we also work with these solutions for e-commerce and gaming platforms. So I'll be happy to chat with any of you later. Yeah, that's all I had in the prepared remarks. And if there are any questions, we have a minute. Otherwise, I give that minute back to you to maybe get a quick coffee. All right. Thank you.